Hi, everyone. Today, this lesson we are going to be doing, let's get it pulled up on the screen, is when we are evaluating functions and function notation. So let's look here, and it says when evaluating functions, you can use the notation f of x equals 2x minus 1. You will be asked to evaluate functions when given f of 3. So this is when that number is inside the parentheses. So when the number is inside the parentheses, you are given the x value. You can use that number in order to find the y value. Now, what I want to make sure you understand is where f of x equals, that's the same as y equals 2x minus 1. They just use f of x talking about a function where when you end up finding that number, that is the y value. So the other thing, so I want to point out, look right here, when it is giving you f and the number is inside the parentheses, that's where the x is. You notice that right here. Oops, there we go. Now, sometimes you're going to be given some that say f of x equals 5. That's the same as saying y equals 5. See, because when the number is set equal to, let's see, set equal to f of x, then you are given the y value so that you can find the x value. Okay, make sure you have that written down, and we're going to practice being able to evaluate functions given this information. So if you don't have it, pause the video because I'm about to erase my board. All right, let's look at this table when we have this information here. In number 1, it's saying f of 1, okay? The number is on the inside. Oh, it's not wanting to, giving me some issues here. F of 1. This is saying it's in the inside, it's the x number. So I'm going to go over here where x is 1 on my table. And what is my y value? My y value is 17. So my answer would be 17, because this is saying when x equals 1, y equals 17. Okay, so now pause the video and try and do number 2 the way I just did it. This time it's saying f of negative 2. So if I go and look at that, that's telling me where x, look where x is negative 2. So I'm going to go right here in my x column, and I'm going to follow down and go and find, oh, there's one, there's a negative 2. It's the only one there. So now let's go across, and what is the y number, the f of x? That's going to equal positive 2. So what it's telling me is that when x is negative 2, y is positive 2. Okay, well, what about when this time it says f of x equals 17? Remember, f of x is the same as y. Now, this table is labeled f of x, but I want you to remember that it's x and then y. So now we're going to go and look, where is y 17? If I follow down, I find y is 17 right here. Okay, we'll go across and let's find out what the x number is. Well, that is telling me x equals 1. X is 1 when y is 17. So why don't you try and do number 4? Well, on number 4, it's telling me f of x is 5. It's saying y equals 5. Well, let's go in the f of x, the y column over here, and let's find where it's 5. Well, here's one. But then some people are saying, wait a minute, there's 2 of them. So what do? You can have 2 numbers. So right here, it's negative 5 and it's negative 1. So when y equals 5, x is negative 5 and -1. It can have more than one value. Okay, so let's move down and look at another type. Erase this board. This time we're going to be given a function and not a table. So when we go through to do this, one way we can do it is this. You can go into the calculator and put this into the calculator. So, and then you're going to pull up your table and you'll be able to go and look for X and Y to be able to find your information. But you have to know what you're looking for. So the first one right here says f of 3. That's saying when X is 3, so when X is 3, what is Y? So you could go in your calculator, go look in the table and go find when X is 3, what is Y? Another way you can do it is you take your function right here. So 3x minus 1, and I'm going to put 3 in here for X. And then I can evaluate. 3 times 3 is 9, minus 1 is 8. So my answer is 8. If you put it in the calculator, you could have easily looked to see when X was 3 and you would have found that Y was 8. So you can do it by hand or you can do it in the calculator. Why don't you pause the video and try and do the next one? The next one is saying what is f of -3? Okay, remember it's inside the parentheses, so it's giving you your X value. So I have -3 for X. So now I've got 3x minus 1. So I'm going to substitute -3 in there for X. So I have 3 times -3. And now let's simplify this. 3 times -3 is -9. Minus 1 gives me -10. And again, so my answer right here is -10, but if that doesn't make sense, you can go in and put it in the calculator or into Desmos, put your equation in there, y equals 3x minus 1, and you can go and look in the table for your numbers. Okay, now we're going to use the same one. I'm going to have to erase and move this up because this next one, so let me move this up so we have room. All right, we're dealing with f of x. Oh, come on, Crawford, here we go. All right. We have the equation f of x equals 3x minus 1. Now, this time, look, it says f of x equals 8. That means y equals 8. So you could, again, you could go in your calculator and go to try and look when y is 8, what is x? Sometimes those numbers, when you're looking for the y value, they're not always there. So one way you can do this is to solve it by hand. So we would do 3x minus 1, and that equals, they're telling us it equals 8. So then you would solve this equation. You would go and you would add 1 to each side, get 3x equals 9, divide by 3, x equals 3. Now I get it matches the problem that we did up above, but that was because that just happened to be because I put that on there. I wanted you guys to see the ways that the calculator is finding your answer, but it still works no matter what the number is. So why don't you pause the video and try and do letter D, where you're trying to find where the y number is 20. So again, you can go into Desmos, go put it in the calculator. That's probably the easiest way first to go look at and try and do. Ooh, here we go. And if you can't find it, then we can come back and do it by hand. Now I'm going to go ahead and do it by hand because this is up here. Ooh, let's see here. is the same as saying y equals 20. Let me see if I can write a little better. So I have 3x minus 1 equals 20. So now I need to solve for x. And the first thing I need to do is add 1 to each side. I get 3x equals 21. Then I will divide by 3, and I get x equals 7. So that's actually my answer. My answer is x equals 7. If you looked for it in the calculator, when you found 20 in the y spot, you would find that that matched up with x to be 7. Okay, that's how we would evaluate those functions. Now let's look a little bit on domain and range of situations. So let me erase my board, and then I'll put the next one. I'll bring those the problems up. Of course, you can have that in your assignment. And you could have already been looking at it. Let's see if I can make this smaller here. Oh, where'd they go? There it is. Okay. All right. This says a water tank containing 400 gallons of water has a leak, and the water is draining out at a rate of 3 gallons per hour. The amount of water W in the barrels after H hours is found by the equation W equals 40 minus 3H. It wants you to complete the table. Well, one thing I like to do is I like to rewrite it with y equals, so I have y equals 400 minus 3x. This helps me see that the H is actually in the X spot. So this is going to be H, which is hours. And then my Y is in the W is in the Y spot, which is going to be the water. Okay. So when you talk about this and you think about it, what is the smallest amount of hours you can have? Like, can you have, what I'm trying to say is, can you have -1 hours? No. You can have 0 hours. So we can start at 0, 1, and I'm going to add a 2 down here. Okay. Before there's a leak in the barrel, how much water did they have? It had 400. Now, after 1 hour, 3 gallons comes out. So what is after 1 hour? How much is now in there? That is 397. Then in another hour, another 3 gallons come out. So that's 394. Now, what you can do is go into the Desmos and put in there y equals 40 minus 3x. Desmos or your calculator, whichever one you use. So it wants us to describe in words the domain and the range of the situation. Whenever you see domain, you should write an X above it. Whenever you see range, put a Y above it. We need to make sure that that helps us keep things straight. Remember, I talk about Dr. XY. Dr. XY, that helps me remember that D is the domain, R is the range. So for my domain, in words, what is it that's in the X column? This is the X column. What is it that they're talking about? This is going to be the number of hours. Then the range is the Y. Right here, you see that this is in the Y spot. So my range is going to be the amount of water in the barrel. Let me give you a second. Make sure that you have that written down. If you need to pause it, you can do that. All right, let me erase this and move mine down. Now it's asking us, would this situation, would the graph be continuous or discrete? Remember, discrete means that we have specific values. This is specific the continuous will be all the numbers. Doesn't mean all the numbers ever. It just means that between 2 points, it's every number between those 2 points. We are talking about water draining out of a barrel. Does it go from 400 to 397 just poof like that? Like it magically just jumps to it? Or does it gradually have to keep getting lower and lower and lower and lower and slowly going through all of it? Yeah, it gradually has to keep getting lower and lower. That means it is continuous. Okay, so what we're going to write is that it is continuous. Whoop, let's see if I can get on the board here. It is continuous because you have to go through all numbers zero to 400 for the water to drain out. Now, it wants us to use inequality notation to represent the domain and the range. Remember, inequality notation is when you have like less than X, less than or equal to, you have these numbers on each side, right? And you're using the less than or equal to or the less than symbol. All right. So one of the things that we need to talk about, it's easier in this situation to do the range first. The range, we're talking about the amount of water. Well, let's think about this. Oh, that's not the X there, or Y, I mean. Let's try again. X, then Y. We started at 400. We started at 0, 400. What does it have to go to represent that it goes, all the water is drained out? How do you know when all the water is drained out of the barrel? How much water is in there? Right, it's 0. So my range is going to be every number from 0 less than or equal to Y less than or equal to 400. From 0 to 400. Now, my domain though, my domain starts at 0, and where does it end up? Coming down to where the Y number is 0. We need to figure out where Y is 0 and find out what our X is. Well, that's not, I would say you could put it in the calculator, but that's kind of when I was talking about the functions. You're not always going to find these numbers in the calculator. So what we would do is, in this problem, let's see, I'm going to do 400 minus 3x equals 0. Because I want to know when Y is 0, what's my X number? Well, I'm going to subtract 400 from each side. I get negative 3x equals negative 400. Then when I divide by negative 3, I get x equals 133.3 repeating. That's what goes right here. See, because it's going to take 133.3 hours in order for all that water to drain out. So as we go to do the domain, I've got 0 less than or equal to x, because it's domain, less than or equal to 133.3 repeating. Now it's saying, how long does it take for it to drain out? Well, that's actually what we just found. Because when we set it equal to 0, that's when all the water finally drained out. So it is going to take, it will take, oh my gosh, let me see if I can write better. Silly me. It will take 133.3, repeating, hours to drain out. Okay. Once you have this written down, pause the video, go to the we do, and I want you to do the next one and see what you can, if you can do this one by yourself, and then press play. All right, so I'm going to, so you should have paused it. I'm going to go ahead and erase mine so I can move my board down. Let me see if I can get this thing to work here. Well, only helps if I can get the problems to come up. There we go. Finding it eventually. Here we go. All right. Nina wants to buy a bicycle and has begun saving money. Last month, she saved $25 and she plans to save $15 each coming month. Her goal is to save $300. So pause the video and go through and at least try and answer these first two. So if it was me, I wouldn't just go through the tables and automatically start answering it from there. I would draw my own first. When she first starts at 0, at time 0, how much money does she first put into the account? She first puts in the account, she said she saved $25. That's how much is first going into the account. Okay, I don't see a 0, 25 anywhere on here because they all start with 1. Well, after 1 month, at 1 month, how much does she put into the account? She puts in $15. So if I add $15 to this, my new amount is 1 in 40. Well, 1 in 40, that's here. 1 in 25, it's not this one. 1 in 15, it's not that one. Now at month 2, she puts in another $15. So how much does she have in her account now? 55. Well, this one says 2 and 55. This one does not. So now I have found my answer. It should be this one. I would always draw my own, make my own table first and then trying to match it so that they don't try and trip me up. Now it says, would the graph of this situation be continuous or discrete? Remember, continuous means between 2 points, it's every number. Well, am I ever going to have on my account $25.5 or $26 or $27 if all I'm doing is saving? Discrete means that it's got to be specific values. Well, this, I'm either every month, I'm going to start with 25. Every month, I'm only going up by 15. I will always go up by 15. And they haven't said I'm taking any money out. So the only thing I'm going to have is specific values. So this is going to be discrete. Let's see if I can write this here. Discrete. Because Nina is saving exactly $15 a month. It will only increase by $15. So because they are specific amounts, that's what's making it discrete. Okay, so now if you don't have this down, you can pause the video, but I'm going to go ahead and erase. And then I'm going to move it down to look at the next ones. It says, in words, describe the domain and range of the situation. Well, what you should have had, remember, domain is X, range is Y. Remember, doctor, oh, that's not what I want to do. Doctor, X, Y. Okay? So now, the domain is the amount of months she has been saving. The range, the Y values, is the total amount that has been saved. Okay. Make sure you have that down because I'm going to move that up a little bit so that we can do the next one. Or the next two. Oh, there we go. The next two, it wants to know how many months she will have reached her goal for $300, but it's also asking you for the domain and range. Remember, wherever we see domain, we have X, range is Y. So when I build my table, X and Y, so we already know that at time 0, she starts with $25. What is her goal? Her goal is to save $300. Is she ever going to get exactly to $300? Well, let's see. My equation, what is happening is, well, you can do it a couple different ways if we looked at the calculator, or we're going to solve this by hand and then talk about it. So it $15 each month. So 15x plus 25 is what we start with. We're trying to get to 300. So let's find out what X is to find out how many months it'll take to get there. I'm going to subtract 25 from each side. I'm going to have 15x equals, what is that, 275. When I divide by 15, I'm going to get x equals 18.33 repeating. Well, here's the thing. I'm not going to be saving or putting money in like throughout the month. It's only one time a month. So if her goal is $300, when it is 18 months, how much money does she have in her savings account? Well, if you take 15 times 18 plus 25, you're going to get $295. If the bike costs $300, does she have enough money yet? No. So what about 19 months? How much is she going to have in her bank for 19 months? If you take 15 times 19 plus 25, that is $310. This is the answer you're looking for, because for her to have enough money, it will take 19 months. Oh, come back. Months to have enough money. So when we go right here, this we would have, what is this, 310 and 295. So that's 18 and that's 19. So this is our end amount. and this is our beginning amount. So now we can write our domain and range. Our domain, we're going to use inequality because, well, they want us to use inequality notation. So we're going to do, it goes from 0 less than or equal to x less than or equal to 19. Because at 0 months is what we start with, and it takes to 19 months to have enough money. Now my range is going to be from 25, because that's what we start with here, to 310. So less than or equal to y, less than or equal to 310. And that's what we need to have for this. Now there are more videos on my YouTube to be able to practice. Let me erase this. I don't make sure that you had it paused, and if not, you can rewind to make sure you have it all down on your paper. So, there we go. So, it's kind of dark in this room. Anyway, that's what we would do on this section, on this lesson, and we will be practicing more coming soon.